finally succumbed to those injuries yesterday. The 20-year-old woman fought a battle both in life and in death. She faced sexual harassment at her college at the hands of a department head. But what added insult to injury quite literally and ultimately pushed her to take this drastic step is the systemic ignorance of her complaint. She was threatened and intimidated. Her complaint was being brushed under the carpet to save the accused. The very principal of the college, who was supposed to stand for her, allegedly refused to act against the pervert professor. The repercussion? A young and bright life has been lost forever. India has lost another of its daughters. Balasore, after Kolkata, remember, have institutes become the new breeding grounds for predators? Are education institutions turning a blind eye to a perverse culture just to save the high and mighty or their reputations perhaps? Why are schools and colleges unable to act on such acts? The netas are quick, of course, to trade blame game and exchange barbs, but it won't suffice. Isn't it time that lip service should translate into action at the right time? We'll take that to our guest joining us in just a bit. But first up, here's how the entire horror unfolded in Balasore. On June 30, the 20-year-old student had lodged a complaint with the college against the department head. A day later, she even filed a police complaint. That shows you the seriousness that she had as far as pursuing this matter is concerned. The very same day, she put up a post on social media platform X tagging the authorities. So clearly, she wasn't willing to back down. On June 9th, almost a week later, the Internal Complaints Committee submitted its report, but shockingly, there was no mention of any action at this stage. The college just didn't do anything, despite this report available with them. 3 days later, when she was allegedly still being forced to stay silent on her complaint, the student set herself ablaze during a protest on the campus. Remember, all of this was happening even as there were protests happening at the campus for this case. It was only after this that authorities swung into action. Initially, the principal, who was suspended, claimed they were going to take action on the complaint, but the victim lost patience. The truth could be far from it. From the government forming a high-level panel to even National Women's Commission taking stock of this case, action has come, but perhaps too late. Sameer Kumar Sahu, the head of the department who allegedly sought sexual favors from the deceased student, was arrested finally on July 14, 2 days after the student had set herself ablaze. Dilip Kumar Ghosh, the principal who allegedly pressurized the student to withdraw her complaint, was also arrested the day the student drew her last breath on the hospital bed. The political blame game refuses to die. The opposition has hit out at the BJP government now for the student losing her life only for speaking out against sexual abuse. But the government says Congress is playing petty politics over a highly sensitive case. The opposition has said that it's not suicide really, it's murder organized by the system. The government instead says that some Congress leaders have provoked the student with their posts to take such a drastic step. Really, politics is one thing. The question really is, why are institutions, this is not just about governments alone, but why are institutions failing to stand up for students, female or otherwise, against complaints that they are making to their bodies? Will lip service and politics suffice anymore, or will we see strict action? Also a message going down to these institutions that you cannot turn a blind eye.
जो भी तदंत में जो भी सामने आएंगे उनके ऊपर कठोर कार्यानुष्ठान हो।
जब तक उसको जस्टिस नहीं मिलेगा, उसकी फैमिली को जस्टिस नहीं मिलेगा, तब तक हम लोग यहाँ से नहीं जाने वाले हैं और उसका बॉडी को नहीं छोड़ने वाले।
क्यों उनको पद से नहीं हटा जा रहा है? क्यों रात को तरबरे जल्द में इनका पोस्टमार्टम कर रहा है? क्योंकि सरकार की गलती है।
जो भी तदंत में जो भी सामने आएंगे उनके ऊपर कठोर कार्यानुष्ठान हो।
जब तक उसको जस्टिस नहीं मिलेगा, उसकी फैमिली को जस्टिस नहीं मिलेगा, तब तक हम लोग यहाँ से नहीं जाने वाले हैं और उसका बॉडी को नहीं छोड़ने वाले।
क्यों उनको पद से नहीं हटा जा रहा है? क्यों रात को तरबरे जल्द में इनका पोस्टमार्टम कर रहा है? क्योंकि सरकार की गलती है।
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Shazia Ilmi, national spokesperson of the BJP. Sofia Firdaus is MLA of the Congress party in Odisha. Saira Shah Halim, activist, and Professor Geeta Bhatt, who's an academician herself and director of Non-Collegiate Women Education Board, all with us. The UGC has also formed a 4-member panel, we are being told. But Shazia Ilmi, the question that everybody has on their minds, I'm sure you are wondering too, why has it taken a self-immolation bid and now the death of the student for everybody to wake up?
First of all, I'd like to say that the incident is truly heartbreaking. I mean, no citizen should have to go to this to seek justice. And clearly what has happened has shattered all of us in many ways, because it's a young girl that we're talking about. Having said that, we know that the system has failed somewhere. But to make it only about political brownie points, to use this tragedy as a photo op, and to treat it as a way to get political mileage is equally insensitive and terrible.
But Shazia Ilmi, in states where the BJP is in opposition, particularly let's say states like Bengal, you have, of course, tried to corner the state government there. This is a natural response of the opposition in any state. They're almost duty bound to raise questions. And this isn't just about rape cases or sexual harassment coming to light. In this case, it was systemic that this student's complaint was not even being heard.
Well, absolutely. And I agree with you. And I don't think I should even go there and talk about RG Kaur or other places. But the fact of the matter is that this self-immolation has shocked all of us. But I don't think it should be used. It should be used as a political one-upmanship and as a source of, source to malign each other politically. I think Rahul Gandhi, had he been consistent and had he spoken about other victims also. But if you look at the state, you want to look at the government, and then you want to look at the crime. That means you have no concern whatsoever about the incident per se, or the victim, or the survivor, here in this case a victim. But what you want to do is you just want to see the state, you want to see who is in power and accordingly speak. How fair is that? Is that not the worst kind of political vulturism? I totally accept. I think it's deplorable. And nobody can run away from that. But so we admit it and accept it. But to make it into some kind of an opportunity and make it some kind of a tamasha, just to score political brownie points, is also not good.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
And
Sofia Firdaus.
I feel shocked. Earlier also Rahul Gandhi used some figures which are totally different, and the NCRB does not support them. So are you going to do this deliberately, that you're going to use somebody's personal tragedy for your own political gains?
No,
and
all
yes,
political
it is a job
parties
of the
can be
opposition.
blamed of
But
doing
how come
this.
the opposition
All
is not
political parties
consistent
can be
on this?
blamed of doing this. But the question to the Congress party, I guess, goes in a state like Bengal, where they're not quite in power, but they don't speak about Bengal crimes so much. But Sofia Firdaus, I'll come to you. Two questions. One, how fair is it for the Congress party to raise hue and cry over one case in one state when literally 10 cases have gone by, cases that have been discussed in state and national media, where the Congress hasn't had much to say, either because it was a state where they were in power or where a friendly party was in power? Secondly, why do you blame the state government for what has happened in this case?
We are extremely, extremely disturbed and shocked beyond words by how the girl had to self-immolate herself so that she could actually attract the attention of media like you. She could attract everybody's attention on the kind of atrocities women are facing in Odisha. Let me tell you that before this 1 year, BJD was in power and Congress has always raised their voice within the assembly, outside the assembly, against atrocities that have occurred on women. Self-immolation case is something which has shaken the entire country because that girl was a member of ABVP. And to also remind you, Congress is not raising voice right now only. Congress has been raising voice since February 2025, since we were in the assembly, since we received the reply from the chief minister that rape cases have gone up, crimes against women has gone up. And you must have seen that all the 14 MLAs were thrown out of the assembly, where a lot of police had also thrown a lot of my peers and my colleagues in the assembly. So it is our responsibility as a sensible opposition party to stand with the girl, because she is everybody's daughter and sister right now. She's a girl of...
Fair enough, but the question is that the Congress party, how can your stand be taken so seriously that you actually care for the victim or for these crimes when you stay silent on equally bad cases or worse cases that have come to light recently from other states?
I think the Congress party has been silent. Like I told you, if I see the case in my state, I have seen Congress always voicing...
What about other states? Fair enough, you will talk about your state, but this is something that is a national issue, right? No one state can take any brownie points on how well or badly they're doing as far as women's safety is concerned, and I will come to that issue because that issue is central, particularly what's happening in educational institutions, because it's coming to light on a daily basis now from various states. But, why pick and choose which cases you raise nationally? I think this goes to Rahul Gandhi, not so much to your state leadership.
I think Congress has been raising the voice. It depends on the presence from state to state. Just like in Odisha, Congress has been very active in playing the role of a major opposition. And this case, something that has really disturbed me today by hearing the word tamasha. This is not tamasha, it is our collective responsibility to be standing with any girl. It is a responsibility of us as member of the Legislative Assembly as well to be standing for any girl. And this girl has reached out to every medium. This girl has knocked doors of everybody, starting from the MP, who is a BJP MP, who has accepted the fact. She has reached out to the CM, to the education minister, to a lot of authorities, and everybody turned a deaf ear. And at last she took this step. This shows the failed system, the systemic failure, that everybody failed her, didn't listen to her.
Yes. No, absolutely. I want to go across to Professor Geeta Bhatt. What is happening, ma'am, as far as these educational institutions are concerned? And in this case, what is also coming to light is that she possibly faced a lot of harassment because of the student wing that she belonged to. There are allegations of the same that have been made. Your thoughts on that? I mean, how can a victim in a college and fellow students discriminate against a student's complaint just because of which political wing she belonged to? Geeta ji, I think you're on mute.
To the parents, to the near and dear ones of this girl, how they must be feeling right now. Well, I think in any educational institution, there is a framework for addressing such type of complaints. And that framework has been given by the University Grants Commission, which is the regulatory body for all the higher education institutions. It's called as the Internal Complaints Committee, which is based on the sexual harassment, the sexual harassment against women redressal and Act 2013. And this very clearly states that for any complaint that has been placed in front of the head of the institution, which in this case was the principal, he should have immediately referred it to the Internal Complaints Committee, and
No,
the Internal
they
Complaints
did.
Committee had to address it.
No, this is a very curious case because they did refer it to the ICC, which is the Internal Complaints, this thing. But they gave a report, but the principal allegedly just sat on it. Aren't there guidelines for you to act immediately after the committee has submitted a report?
Absolutely. Within a month's time of submission report, an FIR has to be extended or it has to be sent to any higher authorities like higher education department.
Geeta ji, I'll just request for your link to be sorted out. Even I can't understand what you're saying. Let's get a better line with her. Saira Halim, this is appalling because, you look at the cases that have come to light from college campuses in Kolkata. Recently, even IIM a prestigious institute, has faced a complaint, not of a student, but of against a person who was a student of the institution. What's going wrong, do you think? Do young students don't have any fear of what these institutions will be able to do? Are institutions themselves guilty of trying to brush these cases under the carpet?
See, one thing is very clear as far as, because you asked me specifically regarding the Kolkata recent two rape cases. One is the Kolkata South rape case, Kolkata South Law College. The other is the IIM case, is simply because the TMC has failed the women of Bengal. You know, who are the people who are actually manning these campuses? They are TMC functionaries who are essentially goons. Now, regarding the rape cases, regarding the Odisha incident and regarding the other incidents, let us be very clear. When it comes to the BJP's attitude towards women, there's a lot of difference between sloganeering and action on ground, because I feel all this sloganeering is essentially political convenience. So now let's look at it, okay? Now, BJP, it remains quiet, largely quiet, whenever they are rapes, right? Because we saw what happened in the Unnao. Like the BJP MLA, Kuldeep Sengar was shielded for years. Now, let's also look at the Kathua rape case. Here we see BJP leaders in J&K marching, in support of the rape accused. Then you look at the Balasore self-immolation, right? BJP state government Odisha failed to act till there was, a public outrage. They acted because of public outrage. Now you look at the different, crimes in BJP ruled states. You look at UP, you look at MP, you look at Assam, you look at Haryana, So it tops the charts where crimes against women are concerned, including rapes, including POXO. UP had about 65,000 crimes against women in 2022. So, we have the numbers and it's not a joke, because here is clearly the highest in the country. Now,
they're also the most populous state. Let's not discuss it like that. Let's not compare UP to states which have 1/10 of the population. I take your point though, in this case, Shazia Almi, I'm not sure whether a politician should have intervened, the education minister should have intervened, or what could have been done, because here, the buck stopped with the principal or the ICC committee of the college to take appropriate action. But I'm talking about the problem here, which is that educational institutions, possibly to defend, someone from their own hierarchy or to defend their reputation so that a case doesn't come out into the limelight, they seem to want to bury these cases.
Shivani, I'm totally with you, and there can be no explanation or defense whatsoever. Something, a heinous crime as this is what it is, and nobody should have even the jurat or the gumption to defend it. As far as the principal is concerned and the members of the committee, internal committee which looked at it, I think they all are equally liable. So I think there should be an FIR against all of them. So whoever is in the system, I'm talking about bottom up, and top down, either way, should very much be, included and be considered complicit, because this is what has led to this tragedy, which is really shocking.
Yeah.
But I also feel at the same time, and I'm never going to defend it, be it BJP, be it any party, just because it's happening in one state where BJP is in power, doesn't make it much worse than it's happening anywhere else. It is what it is. And they are a collective blot on our national conscience. Each one of us, also as individuals. I, as an individual, also bears a responsibility. As a woman, as a citizen, whichever party I might come from, doesn't matter, whichever religion or region.
No,
so that's it. But I do not want this to a grief or a personal tragedy to be used politically either.
No, but BJP politicians can also be blamed of this. It's great to say this today. Shazia Almi, it's great to say this today, but BJP politicians can be held equally guilty of wanting to play politics on a crime that has taken place in a certain state. All politicians and parties are guilty of this. But imagine, Geeta Bhatt is back with us. Imagine the plight of this young girl. The professor, it's not even a fellow student. And this isn't a case where it's a sexual harassment, where it's not inside an institution or there is no institution involved. Those cases, in any case, barely anything happens. But this is an institution that could have come for the protection and shielding of this girl. She's being harassed not by a fellow student, but actually a head of a department there. And what does the college institution, the institution do? They just sit on it. I was asking you earlier, Geeta, but after the ICC gave its report, why was the principal sitting on it and why was no action immediately announced? Were they not flouting the norms?
Absolutely, Shivani. They were flouting the norms, and it is very clear that the head of the institution had given a patronage to this particular professor who was responsible for the kind of a harassment that this girl was going through. And this is so unfortunate. And you know, I was checking on this college. This college was set up in 1944. It is such an old institution. I mean, more than, 80 years and such kind of institutions. And this is something which these kind of cases we are seeing everywhere. Some time back we saw Anna University also, in Tamil Nadu faced where there was a very harassment case. And then we need to, look across the country, and it is very important that there are rules which are being made by the government. The law is at place, but the execution is what seems to fail at such instances.
No, but why is it particularly happening in educational institutions which should have, everybody should have zero tolerance, but within an institution there can be absolutely no scenario where there is any tolerance of this? Why are educational institutions failing their female students when, they're the ones who are supposed to set a precedent? They're the ones who are supposed to tell the younger generation that this will not fly, we don't stand for this. Is it to protect their reputations?
Shivani, I think I think people who are trying to hide such kind of heinous acts of such, young girls, such 18, 19, 20-year-old girl going to college and looking, thinking of realizing her dreams, looking at the future in a positive way, going to a higher education institution, thinking of earning a degree, looking for a job. These people, they are so much, I don't think they bother about the reputation of the institution or about the reputation of the higher education or their reputation as a teacher, as a guru. I mean, a student looks up to the guru or to the teacher, that there is something they are going to learn from them. It is this kind of a tendency where they feel that, a young girl, she is vulnerable, she is susceptible to any kind of advances that they are trying to make. And such people in such institutions, they need to be really rigorously, as per the law, they should be, the FIR should be lodged.
The problem is that we are so unable to set a precedent as far as these cases are concerned. I mean, sexual harassment, forget sexual harassment, even rape doesn't raise eyebrows anymore. It doesn't move the needle. And this is a case of sexual harassment by somebody in a position of power, and it's just, people shrug it off. Nobody is willing to take it seriously. I want to go across to Sophia Firdaus once again. Sophia ji, what is also shocking in this case, and I want the Congress's response on this, this woman belonged to the ABVP student wing, which is the political wing of the BJP. The ABVP has now claimed that this woman was being harassed because of her association to ABVP, that NSUI and other student body leaders, including Congress-affiliated leaders, were harassing her, were doing character assassination of the girl, and were virtually blaming her for what happened with the professor. How do you explain that?
Let me tell you that the lady belonged to ABVP. There was a help desk in front of the college that the principal and other members had also inaugurated along with ABVP. The government currently is of BJP, Home Department belongs to them. The MP she approached is also from BJP party. So how can they levy claims that she was being harassed? It is extremely deplorable that they are trying to deviate from this issue.
No, but this speaks to the college campus atmosphere. It doesn't speak of who's in power or who's the MP or MLA. These cases can't be taken to MPs and MLAs all the time. I'm sorry, but it's not their job to intervene in legal cases. The question here is, was there an atmosphere of intimidation on the college campus? I mean, you look at these cases from Kolkata, what has come to light? That if you belong to the more, stronger student body, of a political party, then you can get away with even murder. Is that what was happening in this campus also?
Let me tell you, if you have heard the girl's bite that she had given when she lodged the complaint to the internal complaint committee, it is her bite which we all can rely on, because she had claimed everything and she had categorically told that the complaint committee, the principal, she had lodged complaint to them and they don't seem to be favoring her. So the kind of atmosphere within the colleges is as such. Let me tell you, I had also raised a question in the Legislative Assembly. Are there programs of mental health awareness and counseling within the educational bodies, which is a mandate of the UGC as well, and the reply that came from the Honorable Chief Minister was that the information is being collected. This clearly shows there is no program to control if there's any kind of issue a woman is facing, and no counseling within the universities or within the colleges for this kind of women, children. And also
forget counseling. The least that the college is expected to do is act on a complaint of sexual harassment. If you can't even do that, if you don't even have processes strong enough to do that, forget about counseling. Counseling can be sought outside. But Shazia Ilmi, please respond to this. How can the BJP claim that you will stand for women of the entire state in the state of Odisha if an ABVP student cannot get herself heard? This is damning on the BJP government.
This is, I think it's very problematic. Even in ABVP, it doesn't matter if you're from NSUI or from ABVP. Nobody, and no matter where you're from, I mean, something like this, no citizen of this country should have to go through this to get any kind of justice. But I want to say one thing here, and it's a larger point, and in no way am I running away from my responsibility, because it is indeed a BJP-ruled state and the buck stops there where law and order is concerned. But I want to say it's all very easy to put it on the MP and the CM. But, we as students, we as normal folks, there is so much of hatred in us that if there is a woman from ABVP who's being harassed, the other parties and their student wings would harass her even more. Should at least at the level of students be more compassion?
I'm shocked
and less
actually.
Of this
I thought student
hatred.
Organizations would have greater camaraderie than this.
Ecosystems. And I think that is something to be said here, because everything is not about politics. Yes, I do agree that the CM is a BJP, it's a BJP ruled state. But to say that, for the girl who went through what she did and to be harassed more so because she was ABVP, what does it say about us?
No, absolutely, it's shocking. I mean, campus politics should not descend to this. I'll give a final...
While I just said that the principal is complicit and the committees, all those students from all those wings are equally responsible.
No, absolutely.
Equally
if ABVP is serious about their charge of intimidation of this young woman that led her to feel that she was isolated as far as her fight is concerned, because she certainly took a very drastic step to get herself heard, and I hope no other victims take this step. That also is a message that we must send out, that it's absolutely not worth taking your life on. But if the ABVP is serious about their complaint that she was being harassed, they also should give more evidence to the police so that those students and those bodies can be acted upon. Saira Shah Halim, I have 30 seconds left. Your comment on student campus politics. It seems it has become so vicious that even a sexual harassment case can be politicized by these bodies.
See, I'll tell you now, regarding the Odisha case, it is clearly that the girl's complaint, the victim's complaint went on deaf ears, because clearly assistant professor was involved. Now you see the RGK rape case last year, a woman was violated at her workplace in Bengal, at a place where she is supposed to feel the safest. So it is happening across board. It is happening in a TMC ruled state. It is happening in BJP ruled states. The point is accountability and action. It's simple as that. If a girl is harassed to a point where she has to take her own life, what kind of a message are we driving home? That, in these cases won't be taken seriously. So I think it's time to really, pull our socks up, all of us. I mean, we as women politicians, as activists, and whatever else that we have, all the designations, we also need to make some kind of public pressure on the various state and the central government to please enact now, because we've had enough.
Absolutely. I'll leave it at that. I hope that this is alarm bell that is ringing for all educational institutions, and of course bodies like the UGC, the universities, the central government as far as the education department is concerned, and of course state education departments, because many of them are autonomous institutions. They must make sure that at least within their institutions' walls, women don't feel so isolated and intimidated. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Moving on, the Congress government in Telangana has landed straight into a fresh controversy. This time it's facing heat over the frequent use of helicopters. What's unusual, you would ask? It's the recent chopper ride that has raised eyebrows. Cinematography Minister Komati Reddy, Venkat Reddy rode the chopper from Begumpet to Ramoji Film City just outside of Hyderabad for a movie launch. It was a distance of a mere 35 kilometers, but he travelled it in the skies. After the event, he flew back and joined Chief Minister Revanth Reddy for another helicopter trip to Suryapet. Some say ministers are using helicopters like shared autos in Telangana. Now, the BJP cornered the state government on this chopper ride by questioning government priorities. The state BJP leader pointed out how Chief Minister paid no visits for Khammam floods, neither for Pashamilaram blast site for over a day. He hasn't visited or used any choppers to visit the SLBC tunnel collapse either until 26 hours later, but was using it. His ministers were using a helicopter for a distance of just 35 kilometers, that too for a film inauguration, while the rest of the public suffers on the roads which are anyways mired with potholes and traffic. Ministers get to use chopper rides even for 30 to 40 kilometers. The issue with the Telangana government is deeper though. It's not just about splurging needlessly for VVIPs. It's a picture of total and complete financial capitulation of the state, burdened by numerous welfare schemes and election freebie promises. And this is not me saying it. This is the Chief Minister himself, who has repeatedly, every few weeks this year, has reminded citizens of the state's financial troubles. So the Chief Minister admits to being unable to pay even state employees' salaries. But he had allocated 200 crore rupees for Miss World pageant in the state. While Reddy accepted that there is at least a 2,000 crore rupees shortfall in revenue for the state, he allocated another 48 crores for a Formula E event. And Congress government has put most of their welfare promises on hold. Even developmental work is being cleared on a case-to-case basis, but allegedly the government spent over a crore for 100 people to eat at an event. With this political turbulence for chopper rides, the question that arises is this needless purge by a government that already claims that it is unable to meet its financial requirements? That is coming up with our guests.
ప్రతి నెల మొదటి తారీఖు నాడు జీతాలు ఇవ్వడానికి తలప్రాణం తోకొకొస్తుంది. మా ప్రభుత్వ ఉద్యోగులకు నేను ఇక్కడ నుంచి విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తున్నా.
Chief Minister Revanth Reddy travelled just 20 to 30 kilometers away to attend a movie opening through a helicopter ride, which is really shocking.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Krishna Sagar Rao is spokesperson of Telangana BJP, who's with us. The BJP has raised quite an alarm as far as this case is concerned. What do you think is most problematic with these chopper rides, and why are ministers using choppers or helicopters for such short rides? What is the explanation?
See, Shivani, Bharatiya Janata Party condemns this financially irresponsible behavior of the Chief Minister and the state government and the entire cabinet. See, the splurge which they are indulging in, the pomp and extravaganza, is what they cannot afford. I am not saying if you can afford, you splurge. But the situation here is so dire that they cannot pay the salaries of the employees in this state on first. And I am not saying this as an opposition leader. It is Revanth Reddy, the Chief Minister of the state, who actually said this in a press conference, that the employees should be aware that the state government cannot afford to pay them every month on the first. And he was asking them to accommodate it. So if you are in such a dire financial situation, why are you splurging for 35 kilometers, and that too for a non-government activity, a very personal invitation by someone who, who invites him for inauguration of a movie shoot. Then he flies along with another minister 35 kilometers from the city, and he could have very well not done that.
So
not
why
only
is it?
that,
Do you think this is
the cabinet colleagues of
No, but do you think this is a VVIP culture that has set in? The Revanth Reddy government has in the past also been accused of high-handedness in the way they handle any disagreements, in the way they handle criticism, in the way they handled, for example, the Hyderabad University forest protests that were taking place. What's going on?
I think this is signature Congress-style politics. You see it wherever they are in power. This is not a one-off kind of an incident. This is the Congress culture. They hardly come to power in any state. I mean, they are in 2-3 states in the entire country. But when they come to power, they celebrate. They celebrate personally. And they get to be so corrupt, the entire government is so corrupt, that they tend to make money for themselves while the people become poorer and poorer. And they violate their own promises, which they call as guarantees. They cannot fund these guarantees, but still they fly all around as if these are the unicorn founders. I mean, it's sad that people who are in public life don't have any responsibility for splurging public money.
Kailash Adhikari is a political analyst also joining us. You know, what is very ironical about this situation is that actually Revanth Reddy himself, despite the fact that Congress manifestos have been criticized, including the one they had in Telangana when they fought these elections of making large-scale promises which are going to be extremely burdenous on the state exchequer, he is the one who has called out the freebie culture in India. He is the one who has repeatedly said the state has no money. He has gone on to say that people don't want to give loans to Telangana. They don't treat Telangana state officials well because of the financial situation in the state. And then it's happening under his nose.
Absolutely. You know, the problem with the Congress party is that it projects that it is a party for the poor, by the poor, and it will work for the poor, and it will undertake public welfare schemes. But whenever Congress comes to power, all welfare that they think is for themselves. Here, if the chief minister of the state, the head of the government of the state government, is saying that there is a precarious situation in the state of paying salaries to the employees, and here for mere 35 kilometers, and one more instance where for 110 kilometers, your cabinet and you yourself are using helicopters, at whose cost? You know, they must understand, and I echo with my co-panelist views, that they are not some founders of some unicorn, or they are not billionaires. They are at the end of the day people's representative. You know, the mindset, the problem is with the mindset of the Congress party. Whenever they come to power, they feel as if they are the Rajas. They forget that they are actually the sevaks of the public, and using the state government's money, which is nothing but the taxpayers' money. It's your and my money for your own splurging and for such activities which is not at all essential for the governance of the state, is absolutely condemnable.
Condemnable, but there seems to be, you know, whether it's Telangana or it's other governments, there seems to be in the politicians a mindset that, you know, when you come to power, you can enjoy all the good things in life because, you know, that is what public has voted you in for. Shyam Prasad Meka is Congress leader who's also joining us. Mr. Meka, the Chief Minister keeps saying that I don't have money, not to pay state employees, not to do developmental work. Apart from one, I think most of the election promises have been put on hold. What's going on in Telangana? When ministers feel it's like, you know, the state is going to pay for their 35-kilometer helicopter rides.
No, I think a non-issue is being blown out of proportions, and which shows BRS is bereft of any people's issues to take cudgels.
This is not a people's issue.
Right? Let me finish. The simple thing is, oh yes, it's not in a good taste, but yeah, he has an onward journey, and they took the helicopter. They're not going in the helicopter just for their fun, right?
This was a
They are on
movie
the job.
inauguration. I can't quite I don't know whether you're suggesting if this was extremely
I'll
important
tell
event
you.
for him.
First of all, even movie inauguration, yeah, you take up an issue. Why is the chief minister and ministers going for the movie inauguration? That's an issue.
No,
Yeah,
that's not my issue at all. They can go for a movie inauguration, but should they be spending
Right.
extra from the state exchequer? You can hire your own personal chopper if that's what you feel.
It's not about the expenditure, my friend. So the simple thing is, whatever the officially they go, wherever they go, they'll go on the helicopter. What is the big deal?
What is the big
Are we
deal?
going to
Mr. Meka, you're not understanding what is the big deal here. I told you the state has no money. But instead of practicing austerity or some sense of frugalism, the minister feels he can take a 35-kilometer chopper ride. It's not 350 kilometers. It's 35 kilometers.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not in the great taste, but let's look at it from the practical perspective. Yeah, government will run, the ministers, and just because money is not there doesn't mean the chief minister is going to go on a bicycle or on a walk tomorrow. Yeah,
it seems like you're being a little
but
facetious and non-serious about this, but this is actually very serious. It just goes to show the mindset of leaders,
Shivani,
especially political leaders who come to power or any state government, where they think, regardless of what the financial situation of a state is, they're there to enjoy the fruits of power. Yes, Mr. Rao wants to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, Shivani, can't it get more funnier than this, more reckless than this? I think you understand by now, I think the people of India should understand by now what happens when you give power to Congress to govern a state. They don't govern because they don't know how to govern a state. Now they are making a mockery of a public issue and saying it's a non-issue. They are saying that should CM go on a bicycle? Who's saying that? If you're going for a government program and if it is far away and if it saves time for the chief executive of the state, he can go in a helicopter. Who's stopping him from going in a helicopter? But for a personal, a personal errand, you cannot just use public money and go there and say, I have an onward journey somewhere else. Now the question is being raised because of the accountability, the lack of accountability of this government, when especially you are financially almost bankrupt. So if my friend from Congress is saying, how it's not a big deal, what else is a big deal? You can't pay your salaries for the employees of the state. Is that not a big deal? You cannot deliver the promises which you have made and came to power. Is that not a big deal? You are unable to spend any money on growth and development of the state. Is that not a big deal? What else is a big deal for him? The big deal is that they have to keep flying, not just the chief minister, but also the entire cabinet has to fly to their constituencies on helicopters. I mean, what kind of a culture is this?
No, Mr. Meka, please respond. And I seriously hope you'll deal with this issue with more seriousness that it deserves. It isn't frivolous. It actually goes to the heart of governance.
No. Let me tell you. I agree with our friend from BRS. But what?
I am from BJP, brother.
I am sorry. Okay. I agree with our friend from BJP. The issues are the promises we gave to the people. The issues are about the governance. The issues are about delivering all the welfare measures. Those are the issues. Yes, we'll talk about it. But it's not about a helicopter ride or anything. So I don't think the government or the ministers took the helicopter ride because it's at the expense of the government or anything. I think that's the below the belt attack that we are doing.
No, but in a state where you don't have money, maybe you don't do it. No, that's the simple thing. If your state was rich and prosperous, fine, the state government can spend a little bit on saving time for its own ministers. When you don't have money to pay employees, you better not be seen as splurging on your own conveniences. This is a convenience. This is not a necessity. But let me go to Kailash Adhikari one more time. Kailash Adhikari, you know, this whole freebies culture debate is actually resting with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is seized of that matter. The Election Commission has obviously suggested that, you know, this culture needs to end. Maybe we also need a culture where we demand austerity from the ends of our ministers.
Absolutely. As you rightly said that, you know, the Bharatiya Janata Party has always been saying, and Honorable Prime Minister, that this freebie culture is actually putting great amount of pressure on the exchequer of not only the country but also of state. It adds to the burden. And at the same time, we must also look at the fact that, you know, the state governments must be cautious about their own financial situation, and some kind of austerity measures should kick in. We are not against the fact that a chief minister or a cabinet minister of a particular state should waste time on the road where he can go by a helicopter. But that, for what purpose? You know, how much is the distance? Is it for a purpose? Is it for foundation loans, stone laying ceremony of a new project which is adding up to the revenue of the state, which is adding to the employment? Here, what we have seen in this particular example is a very personal agenda. And in a state where your own chief minister is saying that there are no money left to actually pay the salaries of the state employees, and salary is such an integral part, people's houses run on that. And in that situation, you are actually splurging state money for your own personal calendar.
Yeah. No, this whole culture which somehow is not alarmed by the fact that state government after state government is coming out to say that, you know, we don't have money, we can't fulfill our promises. That's the least of our problems, because we can't even do whatever was our expenses to begin with when we came into power. Whatever was the state exchequer was supposed to take care of. This case is only symptomatic of the larger problem, where priorities seem to be extremely misplaced of how state money, tax money of the citizens should be spent, and that's really at the heart of this debate. And state after state is complaining that we don't have funds. Then what business do you have to be in power or in governance if you can't run the government? Those questions need to be asked, and citizens need to ask those questions. I'll leave it at that. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Now, with Bihar elections approaching, and Plain Speak, of course, has been bringing you all the latest on the SIR exercise that is taking place ahead of the elections. The Election Commission is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that this special intensive revision exercise is done adequately in the battleground state. Here's a look at the latest numbers that detail the situation on ground as released by the Election Commission. The special intensive revision of the voter list in Bihar has garnered a lot of attention, with political parties questioning the timing and even the intent. The Election Commission, though, isn't budging and is continuing with the exercise on ground, and by all measures, it looks like they are managing well within the time. EC has been categorical that with foreign nationals from Nepal, Bangladesh and Myanmar being found on the voter list, this exercise seeks to remove illegals. Now, opposition parties in Bihar and nationally have been raising questions on whether the exercise has been deemed fit 3 months before elections, and had even approached the Supreme Court over concerns of marginalization of some members of the public. But EC has found on the ground the exercise seems to be going on absolutely smoothly, with nearly 90% of all voters having been established contact with. Now, 2 rounds of door-to-door visits have already been carried out by booth-level officers. 1 lakh booth-level officers are all geared up to begin the 3rd round of visits now. 1.5 lakh booth-level agents by political parties are also providing assistance on ground. Nearly 5,683 wards of all the 261 urban local bodies will also have special camps put to help people with the exercise. EC has been successful in achieving nearly 90% saturation, with 11 days still remaining, mind you, as far as stage 1 deadline is concerned. 83.66% enumeration forms have already been received, while 4.52% of registered voters' names have been deleted for various reasons. So that leaves just about under 12% of the registered voters who are yet to return the forms, but 11 days are still remaining, so it looks like the process will be able to complete and take everyone on board. EC has even released data and reasons for those names that have been deleted so far. Over 35 lakh voter names have been removed as of now, of which 1.59% have been identified as deceased, 2.2% have moved out of the state permanently and therefore have forfeited their right to vote in Bihar. But 0.73% of the voters who were registered voters were found to be registered in multiple places, leading to the removal of their duplicate entries in Bihar. Before the SIR began, Bihar had 7,89,69,844 registered voters. Of these, over 6 lakh names have been included in the draft electoral roll, and this number is expected to increase as the enumeration process still has 11 more days to go. So nearly 7 crore of the total voters have already received their forms, which is 88% of the total registered voters, while 6.6 crores have returned them as well. So that's 83.6% of the total registered voters. 35 lakh names, as I mentioned, have been deleted. That's 4.5% of the registered voters. And another 93 lakh plus are yet to complete that process. That's the remaining roughly 12% that is left. Clearly, with these numbers, the question that arises is it fair for the opposition parties and other agencies to be raising eyebrows over this exercise, both on the timing issue and even on the intent? Finally, India is beaming with pride today as astronaut group captain Subhanshu Shukla safely returned to Earth after an extraordinary 18-day mission aboard the International Space Station. Splashing down with the AX-4 crew in the SpaceX Dragon capsule, Shukla emerged with a radiant smile, experiencing gravity for the first time in over 2 weeks. Now, during his time in orbit, Shukla played a key role in over 60 cutting-edge experiments, from plant biology to material science and artificial intelligence, pushing the boundaries of space-based research. Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed him back with a heartfelt message, saying Shukla has inspired a billion dreams with his courage and pioneering spirit. Across the nation, there were celebrations and pride, of course. We also spoke to his parents, his family, who were overcome with emotion as they were seen shedding tears of joy. Listen in.
बेटे को बाहर निकलते हुए आपने देखा पहली फीलिंग क्या थी?
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा लगा। बच्चे को जो देखकर बड़ा खुशी हुई कि अब सब सक्सेल हो गया, अब कोई इच्छा नहीं रही, बच्चा बिल्कुल सक्सेल आ गया, सब कुछ हो गया। अब हम लोग बिल्कुल सुकून से हैं। ईश्वर को बस धन्यवाद करेंगे कि उसने सक्सेल सब कुछ कर दिया। ये हमारे लिए बड़ी भाग्य की बात है।
जैसे ही वो बाहर निकले, मुस्कुराते हुए बाहर निकले, उंगली दिखाया, मैंने कहा कि ऑल इज वेल।
ऑल इज वेल, सब कुछ बढ़िया है, उसने बता दिया सब बढ़िया, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, सब ठीक है।
40 सालों बाद, 41 साल, इनफैक्ट 41 साल बाद, राकेश शर्मा के बाद आप शुभांशु के अंतरिक्ष में बहुत सारे रिसर्च करके लाए हैं वहाँ से।
नहीं, वो रिसर्च जो दिए गए थे इसरो की तरफ से, जो रिसर्च दिए गए थे उसको उसने पूरा किया है और सभी में रिजल्ट आया है। वो सब रिजल्ट उसको इसरो को सबमिट करेगा, उसी के हिसाब से आगे काम होगा। ये मतलब जो भी होता है, इन्वेस्टिगेशन होते हैं, वो उसके लिए जो दिए गए थे उसने सब पूरा किया।
स्वागत कैसे आप करेंगे? शुभांशु आएंगे अब जब?
हाँ, अच्छी तरह स्वागत करेंगे, बैंड बाजे के साथ स्वागत करेंगे और बढ़िया मतलब जो है उसको व्यवस्था करेंगे, जो कुछ हो पाएगा करेंगे।
परिवार का नाम, देश का नाम, गौरव,
सबका देश, पूरे देशवासियों का नाम रोशन किया उसने, पूरी अच्छी तरह रोशन किया। सब देशवासियों का नाम रोशन किया, पूरे देश का नाम रोशन किया है।
हाँ, ठीक है। और हमारे साथ वो टीचर्स भी यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं जो शुभांशु को लगातार एडुकेट कर रही थी। लगातार CMS में उन्होंने पढ़ाई की और आज जब बाहर निकले वो कैप्सूल तो कैसा फीलिंग था?
भगवान को बहुत धन्यवाद देने का पल था। बहुत अच्छा लगा कि वो सकुशल जो है वापस आ गए हैं। We were feeling elated, we were so excited that his mission ended, safely and securely. So really gratitude to God is the first feeling. भगवान को धन्यवाद सबसे पहली फीलिंग है।
कैसे आप उनका स्वागत करेंगे? देखिए अभी तो अमेरिका में है, कैलिफोर्निया में, वहाँ से जब आएंगे लखनऊ तो कैसे स्वागत करेंगे?
हम लोग उनका स्वागत करने के लिए हम चाहेंगे कि पूरा लखनऊ उमड़ के आए, क्योंकि जो उन्होंने किया है वो पूरे भारत के लिए एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण चीज़ उन्होंने की है। तो हम चाहेंगे कि हमारे स्कूल के तो सारे बच्चे उसको सेलिब्रेट करेंगे ही, लेकिन हम चाहेंगे कि पूरे देश के, पूरे प्रदेश के और लखनऊ वासी तो पर्टिकुलरली बहुत बड़ी संख्या में उमड़ के आए।
और क्या कहेंगे, क्योंकि शुभांशु ने यहीं पर पढ़ाई की और जब वो पढ़ रहा था तो लग रहा था कि वो स्पेस में एक दिन पहुंचेगा।
जब वो पढ़ रहे थे तो लक्षण ये थे कि वो बगैर बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ाई किए अच्छे मार्क्स ले आते थे, तो सबको ये लगता था कि कैसे इतने अच्छे मार्क्स ले आते हैं, इतना पढ़ते तो है नहीं। स्पोर्ट्स में ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड थे, पर्टिकुलरली फुटबॉल में, लेकिन और स्पोर्ट्स में भी, क्रिकेट में भी। लेकिन इतने बड़े फुटबॉलर होने के नाते और दिलचस्पी इसमें रखने वाले होने के नाते उन्होंने फिर एनडीए में जब अप्लाई किया तो उनके पेरेंट्स इस बात से सहमत नहीं थे, लेकिन उन्होंने फिर भी अप्लाई कर दिया।
At the very outset, I would like to welcome Tesla to India.
Brought to you. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I am Shubhanshu Shukla. I am the mission pilot for Axiom 4 mission. And I think it is great to be in space. It was kind of a cycle. I would say initially 1 or 2 days was not so good. You were kind of adjusting to microgravity, but after that, it grows on you every day. And the longer you stay, the more you like it. And it is so much of fun being here, looking back at the Earth and just enjoying all the different settings and environment of space.
Hi, Tibor, and it's really nice to talk to you. It has been so much fun, as Shuk said. We started right with the launch, which was, I think, the best 8.5 minutes of our lives. I could do it any day, that's for sure. And ever since we have been here, we had the warmest welcome from the crew that has been up here already. And in the past 2 weeks, we have been conducting so much research and so much science, which has been actually the biggest fun. In fact, I was almost late from this conversation because I had a physics experiment right before this, but Peggy would have been really mad at me. So try to make sure I'm here.
Tell us about some of the research that you will be doing and what would be groundbreaking about it, in your opinion?
I represent Poland and the European Space Agency as well, and Europe. Polish companies and universities and science institutes have for the first time the opportunity to conduct science on the ISS. Together with ESA, we prepared a big scientific complement for the mission, and this is the main focus: science and technology demonstrators. We've been one of the most exciting experiments that we prepared from the Polish side was, for example, we demonstrated the first brain-machine interface in space that was for the first time ever done. So a direct measurement from the human brain and then interpreted by the computer to perform certain actions. So this is one, but also the scientific complement is a big variety. We have experiments on nanotechnology, on science. Yeah, of course. Here you go.
Swap can talk a lot about science, so. But we all love it. I'm also a science geek, and I think one of the new investigations that we're trying on this mission, Axiom 4, is looking to make it possible for diabetics to fly in space in the future.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. We begin with a mega exclusive. This is on Pakistan's machinations on our western borders, and it is the K2 blueprint where they're activating the second K, not Kashmir, but Khalistan. Operation Sindoor is only on pause for now, but Pakistan's Bleed India plot is still on. Pakistan has once again activated the K bogey in Punjab, and the ISI is making another nefarious attempt to revive the strife of the 1980s. The Golden Temple this time is on the ISI's radar, and can Bharat afford another siege is the question around this entire narrative. The fresh blueprint by Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, accessed by CNN News 18, aims to destabilize Punjab using Golden Temple as the symbol, shield, and also target by means of a hybrid warfare model that mixes terrorism, psychological operations, digital propaganda, and religious manipulation. Intelligence agencies have confirmed that the ISI is reviving tactics reminiscent of the 80s insurgency period.